It's already here. It's already here. No doubt. This is Armageddon, which is the mountain of truths, multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision. For the day of the Lord, Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai, is near in the valley of decision. We are already here. The only things that have to pass now is the MOTB has to be mandated worldwide, and then it goes nuclear. But it's official. World War III is here. As his brother has combined Dabu 7 and visuals, which are real. The reality, when this thing goes nuclear, is going to destroy Esau, Edom, Babylon the Great, forever. He will never rise up again after this judgment.
We here. We are here. Woe, woe, and the last woe.
I saw the end of the world. I could feel all this death.
Hey guys, Dabu 7, we've got some talk and a little bit of uproar here because of some statements made by the upper brass of our military in regards to this war with Iran. Now, apparently, they put out the statement saying that you should prepare because this is Armageddon, telling troops that this is the big war, this is the one that's going to lead to the return of Jesus, and all of that, and that's upset some people within the ranks. There's been complaints. They come from more than 40 different units spread across at least 30 military installations. Now, one of these troops here, an NCO, said that they were Christian and that they were emailing on behalf of 15 troops, including 11 Christians, 1 Muslim, and 1 Jew. They said that their commander urged them to tell all the troops that this was all part of God's divine plan, and that he specifically referenced numerous citations about the book of Revelations, referring to Armageddon and the imminent return of Jesus Christ. Now, those making the complaints right now are saying that these remarks destroy morale and unit cohesion, and that they're in violation of the oaths that they swore to support. They go on to state here how Pete Hegseth has enshrined evangelical Christianity at the uppermost levels of the U.S. military right now, and that this is where things sit. Now, we know in Israel things are on the edge right now big time. They're getting bombed, bombarded. There's all the talk of their temple, all these things going in motion. It's pretty crazy times, that's for sure. But with the war continuing with no end in sight right now, it will be interesting to see what cards are played out here, because this is all taking away from Epstein, the talk of Epstein, that's for sure. But you can see that by the numbers. And they've even pulled out the alien card to an extent here. And the whole full speech and full-blown disclosure can still be played big time and is yet to be played out there on the world stage. What will happen from here on these war fronts, I'm not sure. But join me for the live streams where I've got more time to dive down these rabbit holes and cover all the updates that's happening daily. Going live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on W77. Much love.
Woe, woe, and woe. War, war, and war. Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahushai, Ba'Hashem Rakakwadash. All blessings, honor, glory, and power be unto the Heavenly Father, whose name is Yahweh, through his only begotten Son, our Lord and our Savior, whose name is Yahushai. And double honors to the apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone, who taught me this truth, and salutations to the elect. The four corners of the earth. My name is Amon Gabar, and I'm back with another quick lesson. Lord willing, is edifying, quick, fast, straight to the point, just a quick. In transit, blowing the trumpet in Zion and sounding the alarm in the Lord's holy mountain. And what I said in the beginning, woe, woe, and woe, which is to say war, war, and war. The first war, or world war, or woe, is spoken about in Revelation, the 9th chapter. The second world war, or woe, is spoken about in Revelation, the 11th chapter. And also the third world war is spoken about in Revelation, the 11th chapter as well.
And some in chapter 9.
The second woe is past, behold, the third woe cometh quickly. And I was meditating on that today as I was watching, I was on the job, work is over, so I'm heading back to the lab. But I was watching the Elder Apostle Ron Lyle's video, and he was going into it. You know, he actually sent me this video of Dabu, which is what you seen and heard in the beginning. You know, the title of that video is The End Times. It says U.S. troops were told. It says U.S. troops were told. Why it ain't showing now? U.S. troops were told Iran is sparking Armageddon, return of who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, and willingly calls Jesus Christ, but his name is Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Yahweh is the name of the Father, which means he exists. Yahweh Shai means he's a deliverer. And salvation cometh through Yahweh Shai, because that's what he's going to do, save his people Israel, all right, from the coming destruction. And the ones that are going to be saved from this coming Armageddon is the elect of the nation of Israel. And the name or the word Armageddon comes from the Hebrew Harmagadwan, which means valley of troops. And that's where the Lord is gathering the troops. And that's Zephaniah, the 3rd chapter, and verse 8, where it says, wait ye patiently upon me to the day that I rise up to the prey. And this is our Lord speaking, because who's coming back to rise up against the prey? Yahweh Shai. So our job is to wait patiently upon the Lord. And that's what we're doing. And here we are, brothers. I mean, a few more things to come to pass, a few more prophecies. Ultimately, it's the MOTB, Jacob's trouble, the hour of temptation. And then Yahweh Shai comes back with the destruction. So we are here because we got, you know, like I just read the title, Iran told them. And you see, they watch the apostles. They watch the apostles' videos. They've been watching. All right, the higher-ups of these nations, these noble ones, you think they don't know about the Israelites? We talk about them all the time. From the apostles on down, talk about them all the time. You think they don't have people monitoring and gathering information, intel, and going back and letting them know this is what the prophets of Yahweh, they know about the God of Israel. Why? Because they know who the Israelites are. They know that we the Israelites. All the noble ones of all these different nations, they know who the Israelites are.
And that's another thing right there. Think about it, though. Persia was actually, during our captivity, when we were under the Mede-Persian Empire, we was actually sitting pretty good amongst the Persians, by the way. You know, when King Darius ruled, we was actually sitting pretty good, and we was wreaking havoc against Amalek, who is our current enemy now, the Zionist entity. You see, we was nailing them. We was helping the Persians go after these Amalekites. Okay, we was slaying them. We was helping them to slay. You know, we was within their ranks, you see, like everything else, though. We was kind of jointly with them. When you go back, and this is why Amalek hates them so much, because you go back to the Persian Empire, and you go back to all the history between Amalek and Persia, it's a long history. You know, and those are within the books, you know, 1st, 2nd Chronicles, you know, on through. You know, we was in we was with them. We was with Persia. When we was under the Persian captivity, we was with them. You know? Yeah, sure, we were servants under them. You know, Persia was the ruling empire under King Darius. But, man, we was helping them. We was slaying Amalek. You know? Just like now, you know? So we're cheering this on. We're cheering Iran, you know, to get revenge, destroy them all, you know? You know? Rakah the Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, you know? We're cheering it on because they deserve every bit of revenge, man. And by the way, jihad, as I explained yesterday, you know, just simply means avenge, you know? And, you know, they killed the supreme leader over there, and they have to avenge his death. And like everything else, though, you know, it's happening, and they are doing so. And like everything else, though, yeah, the U.S. was able to hit a tanker, you know, or they say they hit a warship. Well, they hit a frigate, but there was no ammunition on the frigate that they hit, and they killed at least 160 U.S. or Iranian soldiers. But there's not an official body count, but it has been confirmed by the IRGC that over 1,000 U.S. soldiers have been killed in this ongoing conflict between the retaliatory strikes. And that's not even really counting what's going on over there in the Israeli state, the Zionist regime. But either way, this is music to our ears, and we're piping. We're piping. Can you hear the music? Are you listening? Only the elect are going to be listening. They're the only ones listening. We can shout. We've been shouting on the streets for quite some time before this war even began. Were they listening? No. Only the elect have been listening. So we're really just edifying each other. And like everything else, though, we're getting ready because, of course, this devil, Donald Trump, you know, he's going to come down and have a great wrath. You've already seen his fury so far. You know, the deportations, which are not really deportations, but just pretty much, you know, cutting loose, man. Just bringing in the smart cities, etc. We're going to see a lot more of that because Jacob's trouble, it's not coming. It's already here. And we're in the beginning of wars, rumors of wars. And there's going to be famines caused by this current war, which is the Battle of Armageddon. Mountains of troops are going to be brought in, which is just multitudes, you know. They're already talking about a ground invasion. This war is never going to stop. It's going to be non-stop. Yes, Putin could broker a ceasefire, but Putin seems to be more on the side of Iran, and it was, they're saying that it was totally uncalled for, killing the supreme leader. So, if anything, this is going to launch into, okay, they're talking about the Kurds entering into the war, but Iran's also saying that that's a farce. But that's what they're telling them. Fuck news, by the way. They're telling them fuck news that Kurds have joined the fight and that they're going into Iran and invading. That they're sending in ground troops there and, you know, gaslighting. Just pretty much gaslighting and saying that, you know, they're winning the war. They're not winning the war. They're losing the war. They're being wiped out. They've already lost the war. They just don't know it. You know, they're knocking on death's door. And you know what it is to go to hell? It means to go to the grave. America is going to hell. They're going to the graves. Mass graves are going to be everywhere, especially once they start bringing in ground troops. Because guess what? As they enter in ground troops, so is Russia and all its troops. Gomer and all its bands, you know. Ezekiel 38, it's going to happen. We're watching it in real time. I'm going to let him continue. Salakia. I'm just excited, as you should be, if you're a part of the elect.
They know the history. They know who they are, biblically. The Persians or the Iranians, they know that they're the Persians. You know, that's what they was calling themselves, you know, not even a century ago. You know what I'm saying? And we go into it in the Apocrypha, you know, the Carmenians, the Persians. All right, which they go back to Elam. They know who they are. They have their relics in history books and all of these things. They know it. And they know that what we're saying is true. But anyway, they preparing for Armageddon. And like Zephaniah the 3rd chapter saying, I'm going to quote another precept and then that's going to be it. Just quick, fast, straight to the point. Quick in transit. You know, Zephaniah 3, and they wait ye patiently upon me to the day that I rise up to the prey. Again, that's what we're doing, waiting for Yahweh Shai to come back. Patiently waiting for Yahweh Shai to come back. You know, enduring the suffering. You know, and it's beautiful, bros. It's beautiful. We can feel it. Things have shifted big time. 2026 came in with a bang, and it's just going to keep on banging. And things are going to intensify. The nations are going to hate the whore. Revelation 17, they're going to continue to hate the whore. So just wait. Keep on waiting. Stay grounded. Today's daily motivation is Matthew chapter 7 and verse 24. He that heareth, I'm going to just quote it real quick. He that heareth these sayings of mine and do them, I would liken unto him as a man or a person that build their house upon a rock. All right, a rock is a solid foundation. And the picture that you've seen is exactly what I'm doing on the job. You know, setting a foundation for buildings that they're getting ready to put up. You know, so for the most part, I'm the foundation guy on the job. The first person on the job before anybody else get there, laying the foundation. But Yahweh Shai is our foundation. And in order to have a good, solid foundation, you got to be deep. We got to be rooted deep into this thing, you know, into Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai and his faith. And it got to be on rock, founded upon solid rock, so that when you build on it, it's not moving. Unlike sand or just dirt, you know. Scripture said when the flood came and the rain came and beat upon it, it didn't move because it was founded upon a rock. But those that build their house on sand, when the floods come, which is the destruction, when Esau starts to come with that calamity, or when the Lord sends the calamity, Esau come with his wrath, that's the rain. All right? That's the rain and the flood's getting ready to come. And those that build their house upon the sand, you're not going to last. You're not going to last. You know, the Lord always uses real-time analogy to emphasize and display what he was saying. And trust and believe that. You got a thin slab of concrete to lay your house on, and you calling it a foundation. It's going to crack eventually as the earth does what the earth do. You know? Erosion and this and that and third. The earth breathes, it's alive. You know? So don't be the one that builds your house on sand. Build your house upon that rock. How about Shemi Awashai is that rock? Because Armageddon is upon this place. And in Zephaniah 3 and 8, Yahushua says, because that's the Heavenly Father speaking through Yahushua, through the prophet. All right, Zephaniah. My determination is to gather the nations for the indignation. So the Lord is gathering the nations over there, what they call the Middle East, all right, the Levant area. For what? The Lord is determined to gather them for his wrath and his indignation. The book of Joel, it tells us that that's where the Lord is going to plead with them for our sake, for the sake of the nation of Israel. For what they did to us, that's why this is going down, because of what they did to the nation of Israel. That's why World War III is going to pop off. For what they did to the nation of Israel, that's how the Lord is going to plead with them. All right? In America, Babylon is going to be utterly destroyed and wasted, and the nations are going to go into hardcore bondage and captivity. Why? Because of what they did to the nation of Israel. So they know it's Armageddon. They know it's Armageddon. They know that. And Armageddon is upon these people. You know, Revelation 8 tells you about the angel that said, woe, woe, and woe. That's why I opened up the way I did. Woe, woe, woe. That's 3 woes. And Revelation 11 tells you that the third woe will come quickly. So this thing is going to escalate quick. It's not going to be all dragged out and prolonged. It's not. That's Ezekiel 14th chapter, that these Israelites, they got this proverb talking about the visions are far off and it's prolonged. Yeah, all right, okay, cool, no problem. Keep that same energy when this shit escalates and it comes home. Keep that same energy. You know why they say that? Because they're not watching. You had Nate when he was in Jamaica with that pastor. He said Jacob's trouble ain't gonna happen. We know that story. We know how that goes. He said Jacob's trouble wasn't gonna happen, and then a little while later, a couple years later, he went on YouTube and said that he never said it wasn't gonna be a time of Jacob's trouble. He said nothing was happening around that time, but that's bull. Things were always happening. Brothers from the apostles on down been doing plenty of videos weekly, daily. This is not, brothers ain't just got on fire, bro. Brothers, we've been doing videos since we got on YouTube, since the apostles got on YouTube. We were told to get them create YouTube pages, and that's what we were doing. Creating videos, putting out videos, being sentinels, looking for information. That's what watchmen do, sentinels, they watching. Being vigilant means to watch. So somebody that say that nothing was going on, they're not watching. Things were always going on, just not at the heights and intensity that it is now. But things been going on. You know, we were looking, finding, seeking, and the Lord showed us. And we blew the trumpet from the apostles on down. The men that taught us the truth. Okay? So we are here. We are officially in World War III. And through the Spirit, you know, Lord willing, I'm going to just keep whatever information I find on this, whatever it is. You know, may the Lord put the Spirit on me to just blow the trumpet, even if it's a quick, super quick hit or whatever. You know, just coming back to back with World War III updates. Anything pertaining to it, because that's where we at. All right, that's where we at. You either get with the program or get lost. So, they warning that, yo, this is the Armageddon that the Bible talks about. And you got Iranian people talking about that. Elon talking about that. They don't even believe in the Bible. But they know that the Bible is the only book that prophesied everything that's coming to pass. The Heavenly Father is about to make believers out of these non-believers, so to speak. And when I say that, I mean seeing is believing. So now, the scripture saying in Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, at the end it shall speak and not lie. So once these prophecies start speaking for itself, who's going to deny that? Who's going to deny that? Who's going to say, the scripture say, let the Most High be true and every man a liar. People can say what they want to say about us with all the disbelief. That's why the scriptures also say, let not the incredulity of them trouble you, trouble us, trouble thee. So what if some do not believe? Shall their disbelief or unbelief make the faith of the Most High without effect? Yahweh Bashmi Al Shah forbid. That's in the book of Romans. No. We here. So if we know that we here at the doors of World War III, then we know we that much more closer to the hour of temptation. And it'll be a beautiful thing, bro. If this, man. Hey, all I gotta say is all praise to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, man. Damyad. Always. Always. All blessings, honor, glory, and power be unto the Heavenly Father. That's what Apostle John heard everything under the sun saying. All blessings, honor, glory, and power. All the creatures, all creation says that. And said that. You know? It'd be beautiful if this man implement the MOTB this year. June. Come with it. Come with it now. But we know that, you know, how things got to play out. We know. You know, but it'll be poetic justice if by summertime they come with the digital system. Shit, we about to be in spring. So that's not far off. That's why the third wave coming quickly. We about to be in spring. We already in March the 4th. All right? Almost one quarter through the year already. One quarter. Another precept I'm going to quote, Matthew 24. And except them days be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, them days shall be shortened. The elect. All right? The 144,000 and the rest of the 1/3. The Lord is speeding up time for the sake of the elect, man. And we can't wait. And I say we, because I hope I'm part of that number. As well as you all that are watching. You got your eyes glued to prophecy, your ears glued to prophecy, and the true teachers. The scoffers, I'm not talking to you. All you scoffers that are... Now, honestly, the scoffers ain't even talking that much shit like that, like they used to.
Yeah, that's kind of died
They're
down.
not talking about the MOTB like they used to. They ain't saying ain't gonna be no Jacob's trouble. They ain't saying Jacob's trouble happened already. They ain't saying nothing. Why? Because the prophecies are speaking for itself. And the Lord got you. The Lord got all you scoffers. He got you. You know what I'm saying? He got you.
It's already here.
You know, scripture say, every idle word that men shall speak, they must give account for it in the day of judgment. So every idle word, all that, in other words, all that shit talking,
You're going to be confounded with it.
all that yap in your mouth, you're gonna have to own up to it.
Yep. Which means to be judged by it.
So it's gonna be beautiful, man. It's gonna be beautiful because this is the workings of our Heavenly Father and our Lord. All right, our Master, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, in which we serve and worship. This is beautiful. And the finish line is right up ahead, bros. You know what I mean? Give it all you got. Don't give it some. Don't half step. Ain't no half stepping. No Big Daddy Kane, but he sampled that from an older song. Ain't no half stepping. Come correct or don't come at all. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's it, man. You know, much can be said, but like I said, I want to make these quick. You know, we at the end. At the end of the day, the scripture said, "End watch it for thee." You know, we watching for the end. And the end is gonna creep up and catch these people off guard. So, you know, Abaratazah, you know, I feel a little sleepy and shit, tired or whatever. But I ain't no fucking excuse, you know what I mean? It's just that it's not even nothing, bro. It's just that Babylon be draining the shit out of you. Sometimes you be good, you be getting your sleep and shit like that, and you just be alright, but you feeling drained sometimes. But that's what this wicked ass world does. But then Dwight Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, he rejuvenates us. You know, constantly rejuvenating us.
And I got more on that. Obviously, if you've been listening to me for a while here on all my channels, whether it be on YouTube or and then you found me on BitChute or Odysee or Rumble, you know, I've been saying it for a while, man, that I am mentally drained. You know, I just lost my Pomeranian in December, And so the grief I've been feeling over that, it's been draining. And because I don't accept the death in the essence of, sure, she was 16, but I'm talking about the way she died. You know, pooping blood, you know, blood coming out of her. And if you caught the video I was doing on that day, on December 22nd, on BitChute, Odysee, and Rumble, you heard her crying in the background how bad it was, and I had to end her life that day. You know, there was no getting around it. You know, she was pooping blood. She had blood cancer. Blood cancer is caused by the mRNA inside, and you know what Esau's been doing to food. You know, I've been grieving over the loss of her for a while, man. I had her for 16 years, you know. Think I wasn't going to feel something? I'm feeling the grief and the loss of that still to this day. So I'm sighing and crying for the abominations, but here's what's happened since that time. I'm rejuvenated because I'm starting to see the death of these fucking Edomites, and Amalek is fucking great. Yeah, and I can't fucking wait till every fucking last fucking one of them fucking die. So I'm cheering around on it. I'm like, destroy them all. Jihad. Kill them all. Kill every last fucking one of them. Because if you don't fucking destroy them, they will destroy you. You cannot go back to negotiations. The negotiated thing is bullshit. If you don't take them out, they will take you out. So I'm cheering it on. And I'm enjoying it. I'm seeing the repercussions of it. I'm seeing them fucking get slaughtered. Shalom, first and foremost, like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honors the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who are teachers of the truth and sincerity, day in, day out. And shout out to Yakims out there on the four corners of the earth, also proclaiming this truth. Bracha the Yahweh, Bracha the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash, and here we are today. Iranian school massacre, an Epstein cult human sacrifice. You already know these people, you know, they do everything they fucking can to a child before they fucking kill them, before they finally get rid of them. The strike at an Iranian school that killed at least 160 preteen students and teachers on the first day of the U.S.-Israeli regime change operation resembles the satanic rituals enabled by pedophile American financier, which is also CIA asset, Jeffrey Epstein. Iranian diplomat has claimed. The attack in Minab, for which the U.S. and Israeli terrorists have not yet acknowledged responsibility, occurred last Saturday as the Pentagon and IDF struck targets across Iran in an attempt to decapitate and paralyze its government. So like everything else though, children from different countries were attacked to Epstein Island, the diplomat said, referring to the financier's notorious islet in U.S. Virgin Islands. They were abuses, rapes, then sacrifices. They sacrificed kids to the devil's spirit. And they already know who great Satan is. See, they have been watching us. They do know. And on a technicality, even though we're Israelites, you know, everybody, we're partakers in Psalm 83. However, though, you know, going back to even longer history, we were with them. We were with them and ruling out. And don't forget the other scripture, thou shalt not abhor a Syrian. Okay, not an Edomite. I know that that's wrong. Thou shalt not abhor a Syrian. See, like everything else, though, you know, we were also, you know, standing, you know, on the sidelines with Syria against Zionism, against the Israeli state that controls Babylon the Great and Babylon the Great. You know, we've been speaking for quite some time against that, which eventually saw the fall of Bashar al-Assad. And we know that there's nothing but ISIS running Syria. You know, just pretty much, you know, even though, like, where's Hayat al-Sham? Where is the leader of Syria actually in the midst of all this? You don't hear anything about him anymore. You know, that's all out of the news. Why? Because they are using Syria to bomb Iran. You know, straight out the gate. Those territories that were claimed by the Israeli state, they're using it to bomb Iran. That's why they have such a strong foothold now. now that they've claimed more and more territory from Syria, which Hayat al-Sham, their leader, doesn't do anything about it. Why? Because he's sided with them, with the Israelis. You know, that's why he doesn't do anything about it. You know, yeah, they've taken territory from him. He may make a few public speeches, but for the most part, he wants peace with Israel, with the Israeli state. So, like everything else, so he's out of the way. Bashar al-Assad is gone, and they can do whatever the fuck they want to. But nonetheless, though, it was a sacrifice. But that's not the only school they hit. Iranian girls killed by double tap strikes against Minab school. This is just a recent one. Eyewitnesses described second blast, which killed survivors as they sheltered in prayer hall. So they double tapped. And this was on the 4th of March, last night. Just about 1800 hours. The girls' school in Iran, where 165 people were killed by U.S.-Israeli attack, was hit with 2 strikes, with a second missile killing sheltering survivors. The first 2 responders of the parents of the slain told Middle East Eye. So Minab is where that school was, but nonetheless, though, they double tapped to make sure they killed every last one. Almost all the 165 people killed in the attack were girls aged between 7 and 12. According to local officials, there were around 170 girls at the school in southern Iran's Minab at the time. So, like everything else, so they double tapped. Make sure they killed every last one of them. Oh, but he claims to be the man of peace. Gotta remember, the U.S. is... what was it said? Hold on a second. Going back to the speeches. I support Israel 1,000%. That's what Donald Trump said. So, you know it's not about the U.S. first, it's Israeli state first. China halts diesel, gasoline exports as paralyzed homos risks energy shock. So, like everything else though, gasoline, well, it's on hold now. And this is coming from China's side, but keep in mind though that, it's the world economy, so even on that. Beijing is scrambling after panicking at the start of the week and calling for an immediate ceasefire in the U.S.-Iran conflict. Since then, Iraq has begun cutting crude oil output and Wednesday brought another major energy shock. Qatar's massive LNG export operation declared force majeure, effectively removing about 20% of its global NLG supply of the market, with roughly 80% of these volumes normally headed to Asia. So, expect gas prices to go up because this is just coming from the China side, which also still has the Caspian Sea, but it's not getting everything. So, if that's so, imagine, where the Caspian Sea isn't even an option for the U.S. They're not going to be honest with them. And like everything else, though, there is disagreement amongst ranks. I mean, you got the 2 biggest ranks here, Pete Hegseth and Mark Rubio, but they were disagreement. I saw a little bit of that reading subtitles when I was working out at Planet Fitness yesterday to see that Hegseth and Rubio feuding. So I actually saw that live while I was working out yesterday. U.S. Secretary of State is warning against deploying troops as Hegseth takes a hawkish turn. This is the same person that said you're fighting, that God is on your side to bring about the return of Jesus Christ, right? Tensions rising between U.S. Secretary of War Hegseth, at least they're calling him Secretary of War, no longer a Department of Defense, right? And U.S. Secretary of State Rubio over the U.S. approach to the war against Iran. 3 former U.S. officials and senior regional official familiar with the matter told Middle East Eye. Rubio and Hegseth were described at each other's throats over the question of whether the U.S. should deploy troops to Iran at the Israeli state's request, sources told MEE. Hegseth has been supportive of the position, while Rubio is deeply wary of entangling the U.S. into a long war. See, like everything else, though, he didn't want a long war. This is what's happening. They're starting to argue. You're already starting to see division amongst the highest officials, Secretary of War and the Secretary of State, man. They're starting to disagree big time. The U.S. has mainly confined its operations to airstrikes and standoff strikes using cruise missiles and ballistic missiles. But CNN reported this week that the CIA has begun training arming Kurdish fighters to operate in Iran. And they're telling everybody that the Kurds have already entered into the war. Yeah, they're going to try to go through the Kurdistan region to try to, unleash a ground war. And they won't tell you that the U.S. boots are on the ground, but guaranteed they're going to be marching with them, making themselves to look Kurdish, even though they're not. But like everything else, though, a lot of people don't support the war, but they're going to try. They're going to try to sell the war, because remember this, the whole, going back to just about a week ago, the whole State of the Union address, he was trying to sell the war before he began the attacks on Saturday. So like everything else, though, George Galloway, which I've been playing a little bit of his videos, because he's actually talked to both Scott Ritter and I think he's talked to Colonel McGregor, and he's been a pretty good expert on this, and he's talking to RT now. So play a little bit of this. So, the propaganda, war, like you try to say that Iran's not negotiating, etc. Like they did with Saddam Hussein, because they're treating like the leadership of Iran's like Saddam Hussein, that they could just topple the government, same as they did with Libya and Iraq, is pretty much saying, though, that, they wouldn't negotiate, etc., right? That they're not letting the inspectors in there, like they always did before. Try to sell the war, because they try to sell the war to the people, right? So here's George Galloway and his expertise about it.
George, I'm glad you're still with me. Thank you very much for your patience. Now, the question I was asking you earlier was the issue of negotiating in good faith. Now, the U.S. had accused Iran of not negotiating in good faith. But what is your assessment of that?
It's absurd. If that were the case, why did the U.S. agree to meet again in Vienna the 2 days after they actually started the war? I mean, the suitcase of the foreign minister actually was packed for another round of negotiations with the United States. So if it were true that the U.S. had decided there was no further point in negotiation, then that meeting would never have been fixed. In fact, it's become clear that this date was fixed many months ago. It was fixed to coincide with the Jewish religious festival of Purim, which commemorates the defeating of Iran by the ancient Israelites, the ancient Hebrew people of that time, thousands of years ago. It was chosen precisely for that auspicious date. And so it's entirely ridiculous to suggest that the Iranians were to blame for the negotiations faltering. Not least, Mike, because this is the second time it's happened. They were negotiating with Iran before the 12-day war. Again, they did not break off the negotiations. They just launched the war. So for the United States to condemn anyone for negotiating in bad faith is perfectly ridiculous. In fact, the whole war is turning ridiculous as the Washington press corps is forensically finding out. No one knows what is the reason for the war. Is it democracy? Is it human rights? Is it nuclear weapons? Is it for Kurdish rights? They've now said that they have armed the tiny minority of Kurdish people in Iran so that they can spearhead an uprising, which begs the question, why would it need Kurds to spark an uprising when they've told us all along the Iranian people are just waiting for the opportunity to rise up against their government? So why would they need to be attacked, invaded by a few thousand Kurdish fighters? Is it about nuclear question? Is it about the number of ballistic missiles? All of these stories have been tried. And now, in the last hour, the most ridiculous one of all, that the Iranians had tried to assassinate President Trump. Well, there were 2 assassination attempts against President Trump. None of them have ever been linked to Iran, not even in the most fevered imagination of American officials. The second one, his golf course, where someone has just been convicted. The man was deeply connected to Ukraine, was recruiting for Ukraine, had traveled back and forward to Ukraine, was fundraising for Ukraine. The first one, the young man who was shot dead before he could tell tales, we haven't been told anything about him. We know more about Peppa Pig than we know about that first assassin. And I doubt we will ever be told what was the motive of this young man, but we can be certain he didn't have any connection with Iran.
All right, now, Washington has a history of organizing and arming different religious and ethnic minorities across the Middle East. What is the guarantee that by using Kurdish radicals, like you have mentioned earlier, things would go differently than they did with Al-Qaeda and ISIS?
What could possibly go wrong? Answer, absolutely everything. They are accusing the Iranians of being religious obscurantists, of being prophetic, apocalyptic, and religious text driven, whilst Hegseth himself has described Trump as having been anointed by Jesus to fight this war in Iran. And American military commanders have been briefing their soldiers that this is to bring about Armageddon. In other words, the end of the world. Multiple American commanders briefed their soldiers on that on the same day, and in fact hundreds of complaints have been made by soldiers through the normal proper procedures. So who are the religious obscurantists here? Who are the people who are apocalyptic and prophetic? Who are the people who are being driven by ancient texts to wage indiscriminate war? Now, I mean, I'm not a priest or anything, but I do know a thing or two about religion. I am a practicing Christian, and I'm certain of one thing, that no human can force God to come back to earth and as the Messiah by making war on children and on innocent civilians. What kind of God would that be? What kind of merciful, forgiving, and loving God would allow himself to be beseeched to return to the world by bloodshed?
But that's just it. He is a God of fury. And that's what plantation Christianity has blinded the world with. See, they think that they're going to return JC, which is not his name, by the way. But he's not coming to greet thee as a man. He's coming is with the angels of the Most High, just Yahushua leading, right? The King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. And he's coming amongst what Esau calls UFOs. You see, it's going to shock the world when he comes back. And like everything else, though, you see that pretty much so, it's all falling apart. You know, this plan to just topple the government of Iran and then bring about the return of Messiah, which they call JC, but it is going to bring about the return of the Messiah, but he's coming back to destroy them, because that is the dragon as spoken of in Revelation. You see, Esau serves the part of the dragon, meaning the military. He's coming to destroy every last fucking one of them. And he's going to destroy Russia too. Don't forget. Gog and Magog are going to be pretty much wiped out as well. You see, like everything else though, right now Russia will be used to bring down the rest of Babylon the Great. But eventually, when Yahushua returns to gather his elect, it's going to destroy the remaining Edomites, which are the Russians. But the Russians are going to come to the aid of Iran. And they're going to defend Iran and bring in their soldiers as well. So even if they were able to bring troops, there are going to be many troops. And yes, there will be a ground war. And hey, nobody's coming back from this. As Apostle Tahar has already quoted, that ain't nobody fucking coming back from this. There's no return. The war has already started and there's no coming back. They're not coming back. U.S. kills dozens of Iranian sailors returning from India in first torpedo strike since World War II. Now, like everything else, though, I looked very close into this, and the footage coming in from CNN Fuck News about the strikes, they're not destroyers, they're frigates, by the way. And this is nowhere near that goal, because you got to remember, they're all bragging like, oh, Trump says, oh, I could install a convoy and our convoy is going to be able to get through the Strait of Hormuz. The so-called navy that he claims to have destroyed was a frigate. It was a frigate that was headed towards Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, they were the people that were already there. At least 80 are dead and dozens injured or missing at sea, while 32 were secured by the Sri Lanka Navy. So, like everything else, so this was it. U.S. military submarine attacked Iranian naval vessel. So these aren't even destroyers that they hit, by the way, like they claim to. But this is a frigate that was hit. On the 3rd of March, killing at least 80 people as a ship was returning from a maritime exercise in India. So here's some of the footage that they brag about. Because you got to remember, they brag about this, you know, that, oh, we destroyed their navy, we sunk their navy. That's what Trump said. Oh, we sunk their navy. They hit a frigate that was headed towards Sri Lanka. You know why? Because the U.S. can't even get near it, because they had to already retreat the Abraham Lincoln. They had to retreat that carrier. They're not even getting anywhere near it. This was actually towards Sri Lanka, which was before this war even got started. They sunk the vessels that were already out there. So like everything else, so, you know, they're bragging about this. Iranian warship hit by U.S. torpedo did not carry ammunition, says India's sources. So like everything else, so, this is not even a war tanker, by the way. They were not carrying no ammunition. This ship was reported to be taking part in naval exercises hosted by New Delhi and was defenseless. Yeah, you really took out the Iranian Navy. Iranian warship, which seems to be a, it's a frigate. Iranian warship destroyed by a U.S. torpedo strike on Wednesday was defenseless and participated in international naval exercise as a guest of the Indian Navy, according to reports. So you know what this is? And why we say it time and time again? This is terrorism. This is terrorism, just like they've been sinking boats down in the Caribbean Sea, right? Saying that they're narco-terrorists on the guise of narco-terrorism, right? They've been sinking ships over there. This is no different. No different than what they were doing before. They're treating Iran like they're Venezuela. Foreign Secretary said the Iranian ship will not be where it was if it had not initiated the talk, part of the Milan exercise. Sibal added that because it was taking part in an exercise, it was defenseless. U.S. submarine targeted the ship and killed them while they were returning home. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it takes a real piece of shit to do that, but you already know what a piece of shit fucking Hegseth and all them douches in D.C. are. Esau's a murderer. He was a murderer from the beginning. Got to remember, this is Cain. Cain killed his brother Abel, which is, by the way, Jacob. He killed his brother just because. Just for the fuck of it. Just because, you know, he got the blessing and he didn't. So he was jealous. He was jealous of Abel. He got the blessing from the Most High, Yahweh, and he was jealous of it, so he killed his brother over it. U.S. to bitterly regret torpedoing Iranian frigate Dina in international waters. And this comes from the Iranian Foreign Minister Agashi has vowed that the United States will bitterly regret sinking the Iran's frigate Dina in international waters that led to the killing of dozens of sailors. The attack against hundreds of miles across the Indian Ocean, which was nowhere near Iran, by the way, off the southern coast of Sri Lanka, away from the Persian Gulf. So, yeah, they targeted an Iranian vessel, for sure, where a U.S. military coalition had been striking Iran in an unprovoked war of aggression since Saturday. The U.S. has perpetrated another atrocity at sea, 2,000 miles away from Iran's shores. Frigate Dana, a guest of India's Navy, carrying almost 130 sailors, were struck in international waters without warning. Mark my words, the U.S. will come to bitterly regret precedent it has set, Agashi said on a post on X Thursday. So, avenging that too. Sri Lanka, you know, because this is after the event took place, attempted to ensure security of second Iranian warship, because they have another one out there. So you know as well as I do that they're in harm's way, because this war has started and the U.S. is now just doing what they do best, fighting someone who's defenseless. They don't fight someone who's armed. Why do you think that there hasn't been a U.S. operation to go after North Korea? You want to know why? Nuclear fucking weapons. North Korea has nuclear fucking weapons and will fucking wipe out their bases very quickly. So that's why North Korea was never invaded, even though there was talks about it. You know, try to do operations. They never did it because they knew that they had nuclear fucking weapons. So the reason they went after Iran is because Iran has enriched uranium, sure, but does not use nuclear weapons. So, but they're finding out they're not defenseless. Sri Lanka is attempting to ensure the security of the Iranian vessel near the island's territorial waters, minister told Parliament on Thursday. This development comes day after the U.S. submarine torpedoed an Iranian frigate in the Indian Ocean about 40 nautical miles away from the city of Gali, claiming 87 lives, so 87. This ship is in Sri Lanka waters. Jalesi told the Parliament it is located in the exclusive economic zone. The government and the defense ministry are aware of the ship. The government is involved in providing maximum intervention pertaining to the lives of those abroad. So they're guaranteeing Iran the safety of their vessel, which was just conducting normal exercise. Now, like everything else, though, the Allies are going to turn against Babylon. Now, Sri Lanka is a country near India. India is a BRICS member, by the way. So the alliance that the U.S. once had with India, well, that is definitely, less. And don't forget, India is also part of Elam when you look at it. So like everything else, though, it's a Pandora's box that cannot be closed. World War III is already here. So, just getting into this a little bit with Stu Peters' network. And things are just getting started on the motherfucking show tonight, right? Because this will not be the last. Of course, the U.S. Department has only released the images of 4 soldiers. So they're really minimizing the casualties here and really releasing everything very quietly. But there's over 1,000 that have been killed in this war so far, and we're not even a week into it. I think this is day 5. So, got a couple more days, because I think today's Thursday. Yeah, by the time Saturday happens, that'll be officially a week. Heading towards the Passover.
Good evening and welcome. So America's latest war, once again, of course, being fought on behalf of Israel in the Middle East, this time with Iran, is continuing to play out, and Americans once again are dying as the Iranians refuse to back down, refuse to wave the white flag. And according to reports coming from sources other than America's Zionist-occupied media, as the Iranians launch counterstrikes on American and Israeli forces, they have been wildly exceeding expectations. So in no uncertain terms, I want to be clear, what's happening here is that we have a captured, occupied government that's sending American citizens to die on behalf of a foreign country. We have a president, we have a House and Senate that are committing open treason against the American people by sacrificing American citizens once again on the altar of Israel. And on that note, we now know the names of the first 4 Americans officially killed in this war. Sergeant First Class Nicole M. Armour of Minnesota, Sergeant First Class Noah L. Teachins of Nebraska, Sergeant...
Boy, that's short as it compared to 1,000.
Captain Cody A. Cork of Florida, all of whom were killed on a U.S. military installation in Kuwait. Were
996 people not being reported or disclosed
in the wake of an Iranian missile attack. Those casualties absolutely will not be the last. The U.S. government already admits that there are at least 2 more people that have been killed. We're not sure how many have been officially wounded, but
wow, 6 out of
hundreds of Americans
1,000
have likely been killed.
That they officially admit.
Hundreds more at least have likely been wounded at this point. Media outlets all over the world, basically everywhere but here in America and, of course, Israel, are reporting exactly that. Meanwhile, we are being fed goy slop. We're being fed propaganda, fake news that, just like in the Soviet Union, is coming directly from uniformed military officers like Brad Cooper, the head of the U.S. Central Command, who's overseeing the help, of
this
course, of his
douchebag.
Israeli handlers, the U.S. side of this disaster in the Middle East. Now, the video that I'm going to air here is a few minutes long, but it's worth watching for context so that you can fully understand the latest version of the official narrative here. Take a look.
Good afternoon. I'm Admiral Brad Cooper, the commander of the United States Central Command. In
Lies,
this
lies,
capacity,
lies, yeah,
I
yeah.
lead U.S. military forces in the Middle East. I'm here to provide you an update on Operation Epic Fury, now in our 4th day of execution. First, I'd like to express my deepest condolences to the families and teammates of the extraordinary Americans who've been killed in action. And I'd also like to extend our prayers for a speedy recovery. Yesterday, you heard from Secretary Hegseth and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. Today, I'd like to give you an operational update on where we are
Hegseth's
and
a
provide you with some
fucking
key
douche.
facts. By order of the President of the United States and the Secretary of
The
War,
liar thief,
our
the child
military in the
molester.
Middle East is undertaking an unprecedented operation to eliminate Iran's ability to threaten Americans as they
You depend on our protection, yet you feed us lies from the tablecloth.
Years in the military,
La, 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 la.
I could not be prouder of America's sons and daughters in uniform.
Everybody's going to the party, have a real good time.
200 fighters, 2 aircraft carriers, and bombers from the United States are participating in this operation, and more capabilities on the way. These forces bring a massive amount of firepower, representing the largest buildup
Yeah, you're
of the US
invincible.
in the Middle East in a generation.
I see how invincible
In the
you are.
opening hours of Operation Epic Fury, U.S. Central Command forces, together with Israel, delivered overwhelming and unprecedented strikes into Iran. Many of you may remember the shock and awe strikes of 2003. The first 24 hours of this operation were nearly double the scale. And we
Ooh,
continued 24
they hit them twice as hard as they hit Iraq.
from seabed to space and cyberspace. Now, we're less than 100 hours into this operation, and we've already struck nearly 2,000 targets with more than 2,000 munitions. We have severely degraded Iran's air defenses and destroyed hundreds of Iran's ballistic missiles, launchers, and drones.
Yeah, I see that they're crippled. There's no missiles coming from Iran.
Our B-2 bombers and B-1 bombers have executed uncontested surgical strikes against multiple missile facilities deep inside Iran.
Yeah,
Just
I'm
last
pretty
night,
sure that
a
their
B-52
missiles are
bomber
gone.
struck ballistic missile and command and control posts. We are also sinking the Iranian Navy. The entire
Oh, that frigate,
Thus
right.
far, we've destroyed 17 Iranian ships,
That's what
including
they
the
claim.
most operational Iranian submarine that now has a hole in its side. For decades, the Iranian regime has harassed international shipping. Today, there's not a single Iranian ship underway in the Arabian Gulf, Strait of Hormuz, or Gulf of Oman.
Oh,
And we
they
will
claim
not
that.
stop. We will continue to conduct dynamic targeting operations. We're hunting Iran's last remaining mobile ballistic missile launchers to eliminate what I would characterize as their lingering launch capability. Now, in retaliation, the Iranian regime has launched over 500 ballistic missiles and over 2,000 drones. To be clear, Iran is indiscriminately targeting civilians as they launch these missiles and drones. You've seen it on TV. The evidence is crystal clear and overwhelming. Having said this, we are seeing Iran's ability to hit us and our partners is declining, while our combat power...
Yeah, I can see it
is
declining,
building.
all right.
And my overall operational assessment is that we are ahead of our game plan.
No,
Along the way,
they're just
every single
giving you
branch
your
of our military
confidence.
is
Wait till
achieving
you see the real
success.
shit.
I'll talk about just a few of them. Our naval forces have deployed multiple waves of cruise missiles, obliterating Iranian command and control and air defense capabilities. From 2 aircraft carrier strike groups, we're squeezing Iran from the sea and have them backed into their own ports. U.S. air forces are doing what they do best, executing a high volume of airstrikes right into Iran. Operationally, the 2 most powerful air forces in the world, the U.S. and Israel, are dominating the skies of the world's largest state
Yeah.
of terror.
That's
Our
not
US
what I'm
Army
getting
served
from
in
Tel
benefiting
Aviv.
ourselves and our
I hear
partners
them
and
begging
allies.
Iran to
First,
stop the
the
war
US Army fired long-range
when they
precision
started it.
missiles called prisms in combat, providing an
They don't
unrivaled
like it
deep
when
strike
Iran
capability.
retaliates on them
Also, for
motherfuckers.
the first time, U.S. Central Command's drone task force, called Task Force Scorpion Strike, launched countless one-way attack drones.
Boy, talk about
achieving massive
gaslighting.
effects.
You're hearing
I'd
it.
like to point out these drones were originally an Iranian design. We took them back to America, made them better, and fired them right
Bigger,
back at Iraq.
better, much stronger than they were
I
before.
just could not be prouder of our men and women in uniform. Leveraging
Pride of thine heart
innovation
has
to create
deceived thee.
dilemmas for the enemy. There is no adversary too determined, no mission too difficult for the great soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Guardians, and Coast Guardsmen that make up the most powerful military the world has ever seen. Our military objectives are crystal clear, and our people are executing an immensely complex and historic mission with
Of course.
lethality, conviction.
A lot of Babylonians will believe this
And we've
bullshit.
just begun. But I have the utmost confidence that we, alongside our partners, will absolutely achieve our military objectives. To all our warriors, Godspeed. Thank you.
Okay, so the long and the short of it is that was all bullshit. That guy is less of a military commander and more of a propagandist. He casually just glossed over the deaths of Americans as he rattles off a list of so-called achievements while he hides legitimate casualty figures. While he hides the truth that crucial American military hardware and military installations have been completely wiped off the map, and then said the quiet part out loud when he said this is not going to be some kind of an overnight success story. This is the continuance of the forever war. That's why thousands more troops are on their way to Iran. And he didn't mention this part, but right now the CIA and high-ranking members of military intelligence are trying to mobilize the Kurds to fight the Revolutionary Guard.
Yep.
These people are so desperate that they are calling on communists who live in caves to go in and die for them so that they can at least get the public used to the idea of ground combat before sending in the Americans to meet the same fate. Now, there is another military officer out there, retired Colonel Douglas McGregor, a far more reliable and trustworthy military
Yep,
officer.
and he's been
than
speaking
that,
a lot
who says
lately.
that things are going so poorly that the United States is now bringing in the Indians and that Israel might use a nuke.
China and Russia are sitting on the sidelines monitoring everything. They're in close touch with the government. They're providing satellite intelligence, which accounts for some of the tremendous successes, particularly in Israel and our U.S. bases. All of our bases have been destroyed. Our harbor installations are destroyed. We're actually having to fall back on India and Indian ports, which are less than ideal. That's what the Navy says. And I think Iran, much to our disappointment, is faring very, very well.
Well, that doesn't sound good. But according to the regime's top military propagandist in the Middle East, everything is going according to plan.
Yeah, LBJ said that
let's
during
check in
Vietnam,
on the
didn't he?
Israeli
This ain't
military and
Vietnam.
see how things are really going. It's not so funny anymore, is it, Shlomo? Now that you're not killing starving kids, now that you're not laying waste to entire families, mowing down starving, disarmed, famished civilians who spent their entire lives living in an open-air prison, suddenly it's not so entertaining. It's not so easy anymore, is it? Now all of a sudden this is a real war and you're fighting a real country with a real military. I would imagine it's probably a sinking and pretty shitty feeling to realize that the U.S. taxpayer-funded Iron Dome can't keep up with the rate at which Iranian rockets are raining down on your fake-ass country.
Yep.
Life comes at you fast. So fast that Shlomo and his
Taste your
buddies are
blood
gonna
as
need
a
a box
circle
of
through the
tissues and
air.
some new diapers. But you know
Another
what? Here's the
casualty
problem.
beyond the shadows you fall.
It's not just Shlomo and his
Fatality,
buddies that are
reality,
dealing
you
with
wait the
consequences
final
of this
call.
war. It's billions of people all around the world, including Americans, including the children, the schoolgirls who have already been sacrificed. And while our government is too cucked by these diaper-wearing crybabies to push back, even if they wanted to, even if they hadn't willingly sold their souls and the soul of our nation,
We fought it
every
for the
member
gods
every
of
government
war.
has been completely compromised. There's people out there who are publicly speaking out, and let's be honest, at this point, if you're publicly speaking out against this war machine, especially as a member of government somewhere, you are putting your life at risk.
Yeah, Newsom's been on the roll lately.
The European Parliament, Irene Montero, did just exactly that when she told reporters, quote, "The United States and Israel are currently the main threats to the security and stability of humanity. People don't have to pay for Trump's illegal invasions. We must prevent and limit the price of energy, food, and basic products right now, make public transportation free, and leave NATO because being allies of the United States puts us in danger."
She's right.
Leaving NATO, that sounds like a Spain first position, doesn't it? Not so different from the position that Trump pretended to take when he was telling his supporters that he was going to end wars, that he was going to end American interventions. And
Yep,
NATO.
thee shall hate the whore and burn her with fire.
All of that was fake. And now he's starting wars. He's expanding American interventionism. He's demanding that NATO nations enter America's latest war for Israel, while at the same time cooking up plans with his Israeli masters to go to war with Turkey, a NATO country.
Ah, there it
That is
is.
out of the way.
Yep, they're going to go to war against
These
Turkey.
people truly
That's
have
how
no
Gomer
bounds.
and all his
Just
troops
like
get
that woman
involved.
From Spain said, the occupied United States and its occupiers from Israel are currently the main threats to humanity. They do everything that they accuse the Iranians of doing. They kill women, they kill kids, they bomb schools. They start wars with the goal of wiping out entire population groups or uprooting them from the places where they have lived, actually lived, for thousands of years. These are governments ruled by psychopaths. They are governments ruled by demonic forces, and they launched this war so that they could fulfill a Stone Age Jewish prophecy to usher in the Antichrist. This is their stated goal. Pete Hegseth said this himself.
Yep.
Publicly.
And today, Jennifer and I and others had a chance to go see the Western Wall of the Temple Mount, the Western Wall tunnels, so much of the old city. And as you stand there, you can't help but behold the miracle before you. And it got me thinking about another miracle that I hope all of you don't see too far away. Because 1917 was a miracle, 1948 was a miracle, 1967 was a miracle, 2017, the declaration of Jerusalem as the capital was a miracle, and there's no reason why the miracle of the reestablishment of the temple on the Temple Mount is not possible.
Here we go with that
I don't
third
know how
temple
it would
shit.
happen. You don't know how it would happen, but I know that it could happen. That's all I know. And a step in that process, a step in every process, is the recognition that facts and activities on the ground truly matter. And that's why going and visiting Judea and Samaria, understanding that sovereignty, the very sovereignty of Israeli soil, Israeli cities, locations.
Yep, but they're not the real
next
Israelites.
step to showing the world that this is the land for Jews and the land of Israel. And I believe, as was mentioned, he said you need to, what was mentioned is you need to buy the ticket. Don't just wish for 40 years to win the lottery, buy the ticket. I would submit to you, in light of the support you have in Washington, D.C., the support you have amongst patriotic Americans, amongst evangelical Christians, amongst believers, amongst Republicans, even amongst some Democrats who can barely say it anymore in Washington, buy the ticket, take your action, do what needs to be done here in Israel, because I truly believe this is a moment where America will have your back. You have Donald Trump in the White House. You have Mike Pence as vice president. You have Nikki Haley at the UN.
America will back
America that have your back.
The Lisa flock shall draw them out.
So that was in 2018 at the King David Hotel, of all places, where the Jews bombed the British back in 1946 in a false flag that they tried to blame on Muslims. And in that video, what you saw was Pete Hegseth effectively running for Secretary of Defense, or for any position that anyone would ever give him in government. He was auditioning in front of the paymasters, in front of the puppet masters. That was Pete Hegseth on the casting couch. And he was telling the directors that he would do whatever they wanted him to do, and so would the rest of his political ilk, up to and including waging a war that would bring about the construction of that third temple, where Jews believe that their Antichrist will rule over all of humanity. Which is probably why the Trump administration, which now includes the guy that you just saw, Pete Hegseth, is having such a hard time explaining to everyone why in the hell we're at war with Iran to begin with. They told us that it's because Iran is mean, that it's a threat to the United States. They told us that it's because Iran is a threat to Israel, that it's going to commit another Holocaust any day now. They said that Iran had nukes. They said that Iran didn't have nukes. They said they have big scary missiles, that they might have a nuke someday. They've been all over the place, but they cannot give us a reason until, of course, Marco Rubio and Mike Johnson both came clean and actually admitted that America is attacking Iran because Israel ordered it, for all of the reasons that you just heard in that video of Pete Hegseth, which is what it all comes back to. But when the Trump administration met with senators yesterday to explain what the hell is going on,
and I saw this on TV.
Games again. Watch.
There are times when you go into a classified session and you walk out and you have a better understanding about the gravity of the situation and the rationale behind the military action. This is not one of those times. We remain as confused as the American people are. They have had 3 or 4 or 5 justifications for this act of war over the last 4 or 5 days, and nothing in this classified session alleviated that confusion.
This administration can't even justify to members of the United States Senate why the hell this country is attacking Iran. They can't explain it to the American people. They can't explain it to the so-called elected representatives and elected senators of the American people, because the only thing that they could possibly do is come right out and say that the president is compromised and he's doing whatever Benjamin Netanyahu says. That is the only justification that would make any sense. The only justification that exists on earth is to say that these people are waging a war for Israel to protect pedophiles.
Yep.
That these people are sending Americans to die so that Israel can take out Iran and expand its borders to encompass the entire Middle East from the Nile to the Euphrates. Iran stands in the way of that, so they are determined that Iran has to go. And by the way, after that very same meeting, Chuck Schumer had what may have been one of the greatest Freudian slips in all of American history. Jewish psychology is now working against its Jewish masters, because Chuck Schumer told the media that the last thing anybody wants is a nuclear-armed Israel.
Do you think Israel, forced the U.S.'s hand here, boxed the U.S. in on this?
Look, no one wants a nuclear war. No one wants a nuclear Israel, but we certainly don't want an endless war, plain and simple.
Wait a minute. I don't think you said that quite right, sir. Come on back. Yeah.
Let me say that again. No one wants an endless war, but we certainly don't want a nuclear Iran. That's the
come on back. You gotta give your lines again. I don't think you got that quite right. It's all just so fucking exhausting. But because it's all WWE in DC, because it's all so fake and gay, because it's all just a big joke to these people, he gets to come back, have a do-over, give him a new soundbite, and hope to get his lines right. But what Chuck Schumer said at the beginning was the absolute truth. For once in his life, he told the truth when he said nobody wants a nuclear-armed Israel, because a nuclear Israel, by every measurement, is absolutely hands down the most dangerous country to ever exist on the planet. It's a country that's run by complete and total psychopaths that will blow up the entire world, literally, if they don't get exactly what they want. That's why we're in the situation to begin with.
And like everything else, though, that's why it's looking like the Zionist entity is the one that's going to destroy Damascus, totally leveling Damascus, causing it to cease, starting the nuclear war. Nuclear Israel, not nuclear Iran. But he didn't get his lines right, and he, as they say, told on himself. Oops, he told himself, wait, I didn't say it correctly. Oops, say oops, upside your head. So either way, though, he said it, The soldiers, the U.S. soldiers, are in a Zionist trap. The Zionist entity that runs Babylon has sent them to the death, and they have no problems with it. So here's footage of the Lincoln being actually hit by Iran. And of course, this doesn't even look like it's been altered because I've looked at this video before. But here it is. This is the Lincoln getting hit by Iranian missile strikes. But this could be AI. It says original video, though, original audio. Okay, so the video is because they're not being truthful about the Lincoln being hit by 4 of those. So, there you are. They're not being truthful. Of course they wouldn't be. That wouldn't look good for them. So, like everything else, though, we got this going on, too. Just taking a good look at some of the footage that they will not show you on CNN. Well, they might, but they're going to have their twist that the U.S. and Israeli state are winning the war. So, they're trying to intercept, but they cannot take out Iran. They cannot take out these strikes. There it goes.
One.
Yeah, the Iron Dome is not so invincible. But there's more. These Amalekites are begging Iran to stop because their habitations are beginning to look like Gaza. It's beginning to look a lot like Gaza for their side of it, which they've been repeatedly attacking Gaza. Now these fucking Amalekites don't like it when it happens to them. Hezbollah launches 23 attacks against Israeli military sites on Wednesday. Hezbollah has carried out 23 drone and rocket attacks against Israeli military sites and bases in northern and central Israeli state. On Wednesday, it also reported clashes with Israeli terrorists who said it were attempting toward southern Lebanese town of Qaim. In a series of statements issued on early Wednesday, the group said the attacks were part of an escalation that began when Israeli state at dawn on Monday. Hezbollah said its operations were in response to the criminally Israeli aggression targeting dozens of Lebanese cities and towns, including Beirut's southern suburbs. It has also struck the Ait Zaintam base, described as the headquarters of Brigade Command north of the city of Safed, and with a swarm of attack drones. So, Israeli states also get hammered by Hezbollah. Which they'll tell their people that they're winning the war. And like everything else, so yes, you're going to have people fleeing during this war. You're going to have refugees everywhere. As Israeli war escalates against Iran, Lebanon expands Syrians' rush across the border to home. I meant Lebanon. Because their war against Lebanon, as well as their war against Iran. But nonetheless, Syrians are rushing back to their border home. Border crossings between Syria and Lebanon see rising numbers of Syrians returning home after ongoing Israeli terror attacks and deteriorating conditions. Border crossings between Syria and Lebanon are witnessed as a surge of returning Syrians following Israeli bombardment. Alusha said that both staff at both crossings provide all necessary facilities and services and organize the flow of the crossings of high efficiency, ensuring rapid processing and safety of travelers amid continuous readiness and full mobilization to accommodate the increasing numbers. Israeli air attacks against Lebanon have forced many families to return route to Syria, which you already know is run by ISIS. So they have to choose from one bloodshed to another, because it's been nothing but bloodshed in Syria ever since ISIS has ruled there. And they've had their rule thanks to the funding of the Israeli state. Now these goddamn gutter rats are begging Iran to stop. How pathetic, man, pretending to be the victim. These pieces of shit. But they are seeing what Iran is really, truly capable of. And they're going to give them, they're going to show them what it's like to have to run for shelter because all your resources are drained. Your government can protect you. You know, you are fucking lost. So they're begging Iran to stop. These Amalekites.
Iran, please stop. We lose, you win. Please stop.
Fuck you.
Iran, forgive us. Stop the destruction, please.
It's beginning to look a lot like Gaza.
It's the only country for us. Sir, can you tell us what happened here? Iran, please stop. We lose, you win.
You lose, These goddamn fucking gutter rats are fucking getting what they deserve. And I fucking hope that they keep killing more. You know? Fucking, you know, King Saul did not do what the Most High had asked by killing every last fucking one of them Amalekites. Do you know what, though? It's all coming back. You know, because now it's time to slay every last one of them fucking Amalekites. The Most High be with you, right? Because he is definitely using. He is the one mustering up all the nations to come to battle. You know, this is Armageddon, you know. But he's not with Esau. He's not with Amalek. He is actually on his own side. He's going to rule. The King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Yahweh Shai, and the angels are coming back to rule. So like everything else, so this is a little bit more. And so looking at this is the scenario that they're looking at now as to what it's going to do to the economy. You know, taking after the announcements that they're going to have ground troops, that they're using the Kurds to invade, and everything else, and what it's going to look like for the economy as this guy goes into.
This is your World War III update. So it looks like we're going to get boots on the ground in Iran. The Senate is about to vote on whether or not the war in Iran is a good idea. I guess that's usually something you would do before you go to war and not just unilaterally declare it yourself. We have a shock and awe campaign that has been ongoing for the last 24 hours since I made my last very drowsy update about 24 hours ago. We have a new Ayatollah who has been selected. We have a market crash that occurred earlier in the day. Of course, plunge protection came in, and Donald Trump came in with a promise of covering the insurance premium risk, which caused a slight retracement, but the market's still going to crash. We have Iran, which is going scorched earth on the entirety of the region, but it's going to be much harder for us to get video footage out of that region now that we're seeing the same martial measures being imposed as we did in Ukraine. We have the possibility of a nuclear strike, according to insider traders, up to 17% by June 30th. We have U.S. commanders sending out memos to their troops indicating that they are currently fighting a war for Armageddon, and we have potential fertilizer issues as a result of the Strait of Hormuz closure. Now, there's a lot of interesting things going on in the Strait of Hormuz. We have tankers that are now turning off their transponders, and I think what's happening with this announcement today from Donald Trump that not only are they going to be covering the risk premium so that these insurance companies can make their rates more affordable for people, the government's essentially going to cover it. You, the taxpayer, are going to cover it. So you're not going to notice it in the price of oil because, as Rubio said today, they're going to also start releasing oil from the strategic oil reserve when it's necessary. But in addition to that, now you're going to have military escorts throughout the Strait of Hormuz. In addition to that,
and they can't even stop Yemen. How are they going to stop Iran, right?
Have to foot the bill. So you're not really going to notice it in the short term in inflation, but of course, you're going to notice it in the long term because they're just going to add to the deficit, which is ultimately inflationary. It's just not that near term inflation that comes with a rising price of oil. And because all of these tankers are now going to have their transponders off, because the Iranians are relying on a lot of data coming from Russia, China, and China's now on the fence because, of course, they're put in this situation where they're enabling Iran to effectively target ships coming through the Strait of Hormuz, which is fueling this embargo. So I'm not sure if they're continuing to provide them that information. And then, of course, they're relying on maritime tracking apps, which show them the exact location of the ships. Not that the Iranians don't have their own loitering ISR capabilities, but of course they're going to be drastically limited in that region at this point in time. So we're going to see a lot of things go dark. Even if something does get hit, then we're probably not even going to know unless they're able to get a picture of it burning at sea. We might not even get those maritime notifications when an incident happens because, of course, this is going to cause the price of oil and gas to spike. Anyways, I kind of went off on a bit of tangent, but I just wanted to give you some perspective on that because not a lot of people are talking about that. Let's see what Senator Blumenthal has to say. Now, he is.
And this was live when I was at Planet Fitness working out yesterday.
To this whole Iran war issue, but just remember that all of these guys, the Democrats, they kept their mouths shut throughout the military buildup to go to war with Iran. They all clapped in unison at the State of the Union only once, and that was when Donald Trump mentioned the nuclear program. And Senator Blumenthal, who is best friends with Lindsey Graham, co-authored the bill, House Resolution 559 in 2023-2024, which basically outlined how they're going to militarily intervene if they thought that Iran was becoming a nuclear threshold state. Okay, this is the reason why I made my prediction in January of 2024. I'll post a link to that video in the description below. 5 months before, good friend of the channel, Professor Zhang, made his prediction that war with Iran was inevitable under Trump. I said in January of 2024 that there's going to be a war with Iran. I said that it was going to start before the election. It didn't, but I also said that if it doesn't start then, it's definitely starting on Trump's watch. And this was the reason why, because they created this bill. Now, let's see what he has to say today.
I just want to say I am more fearful than ever after this briefing that we may be putting boots on the ground. And
there it is.
Troops from the United States may be necessary to accomplish objectives that the administration seems to have, but I also am no more clear on what the priorities are going to be of the administration.
They're all on board for a war with Iran. Now they're going to kind of astroturf the issue, and they're going to all act as though they were against the war when it goes sour in the long run. They understand the power of the AIPAC lobby. Nobody wants to be crossing those lines. So you're going to get a lot of performative fake outrage like this that are trying to hold the administration to account. Well, where has the protest been? We've only seen a handful of these politicians say things like no war with Iran, and often it's just this tokenism. It is not any sort of serious resistance. So indeed, they're going to put troops on the ground with Iran, and we're going to talk in a moment about what that exactly is going to look like. You're going to have to pardon my skeleton set that we have going on here. We're currently renovating this space, but I can kind of show you what I need to show you. Now, there was a massive, before we get into that, there was a massive shock and awe bombardment. I told you guys that the next 24 hours were going to be bad inside Iran. And we're not getting much footage out of Iran right now because, of course, the internet is down. So any footage that you're seeing in Iran is likely being uploaded by somebody with satellite phone or a Starlink or some alternate means, which means that they're doing so illegally as far as the Iranian law is concerned anyways.
That's a lie. Because guess what? Press TV, they're active. Press TV has been active since they've been hit. But like everything else, though, you get it. It's going to tank the economy. That there's a lot they're not telling you. So, you know, that's just from another Edomite sort of point of view about what it's going to do to the economy, which that's where he's being honest. You know, well, you know, downplaying the fact that over 1,000 U.S. terrorists have been killed in this attack. Islamic Resistance in Iraq says it's carried out 27 attacks against enemy bases in less than 24 hours. So you got a lot of resistance also in these other countries that occupy bases. So, you know about the Iraqi Islamic group, which they've taken, against ISIS and many other places, and against the war in Yemen. They have definitely, the Islamic resistance in Iraq has been in opposition to the Zionists for a long time. Now are taking action. Islamic resistance in Iraq carried out 27 operations describing what it described as enemy bases in Iraq. In a statement issued on Tuesday, the group said its fighters launched the attacks from dawn on the 3rd of March until the time of the announcement. It said dozens of drones and rockets were used against bases in Iraq and the region. The group also released a video which it showed a launch of rockets toward what it called occupation bases, which is true. So, you got a lot of resistance there as well. This is not going very well. So, I'm going to end it with the Most High's wrath is upon the nations. I'm going to play some of that before I close this out. But nonetheless, though, World War III, it's already here. It's not coming. It's already here. And it looks like they took out my internet. Yeah, well, good thing I already had these videos uploaded. So, let's see if I can get it this way. Salakia, I'm just trying to get it on here so I can read some scriptures. Well, we're seeing this come to pass, Matthew chapter 24, before our eyes. And this has been deemed the year of apostasy and of sellouts. And you're going to see a lot more of that. But like the other brothers said, man, you're not hearing them talk so much shit right now, but it's still going to come to pass. Who the false prophets really are. They're going to come out eventually, or what's going to happen within that, because they've already been talking their shit long before, but they're not talking so much of it now. They're going to find out who the real leaders are, that the true prophets of the Most High are here at Great Millstone on down. Matthew chapter 24, verse 5, for many shall come in my name, misusing it and appropriating the strength of the name which belongs to me, saying that I am the anointed, and they will lead many astray. They will mislead many. You will continually hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you're not frightened, for those things must take place. But that is not the end of the age. So, like everything else, though, we're at the time now that all this is going to be revealed. See? For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. The house divided. Many people divided on the issue of going to war with Iran, which is already here. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. But all these are merely the beginning of birth pains of the intolerable anguish in the time of unprecedented trouble, aka Jacob's trouble. Then they will hand you over to endure tribulation and will put you to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of my name. That's talking about when they mandate that you be implanted with the chip, ultimately talking about Jacob's trouble, because many are not going to take it. At that time many will be offended and repelled by their association with me, and will fall away, meaning that they'll turn their backs to the plow. They will turn against the Most High from the one whom they should trust, and will betray one another, handing over believers to their prosecutors, and will hate one another. Thus, many false prophets appearing in camps, and Judases handed us over to the government, etc. Many false prophets will appear and mislead many. We're going to see that because it's been deemed the year of apostasy and of sellouts. Because lawlessness is increased, the love of most people will grow cold. But the one who endures and bears up under suffering to the end will be saved. So you're going to have to endure this to the very end. So hopefully this has been edifying. Got one more here before we close this out. The Most High's wrath is upon the nations. Shalom, Barak the Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Wa Abba Babal. And Brakatam Jehovah. Don't be misled. Babylon the Great, America is losing the war. They're not winning it. See that you're not deceived.
In Catch-22, Milo Minderbender rents out his own air force to the enemy, in that case to the Germans. Hasn't something like that happened? The American Air Force has been rented out, and to Miriam Adelson, and if she got that for 250 million, that's the bargain of the century, isn't it? The American armed forces have essentially been rented out to Adelson and her boss Netanyahu.
No, you're 100% correct, and this may be the downfall of Donald Trump, and I pray it is the downfall of Donald Trump. I may actually become a religious man if it results. Regime change cuts two ways. It's a double-edged sword. Donald Trump has unsheathed the regime change sword and sought to weld it against Iran, but in doing so, he's created the foundation of his own demise. You see, he did run on a platform where he was the president of peace. There is posters out there that make this proclamation. He promised Americans that he would put America first, that he would make America great again. Tucker Carlson had a very fascinating interview with Mike Huckabee, the U.S. ambassador to Israel, where Mike Huckabee openly on international TV said that Greater Israel is a thing, and that it's okay for the Israelis to aspire to take the territory of virtually all of their Arab neighbors. He truly believes this. Ted Cruz believes this. Donald Trump believes this. Others, but the American people don't believe this, because the American people are willing to die for this. And when Tucker Carlson released this, the Israeli press, I was reading it, they got very worried. They said, we being Israel need to be very careful here, because there is now a serious divide amongst those people we need in the United States to maintain this friendship, the Republican base, the MAGA base, and we're going to lose them. With Mike Huckabee's words and others, because they fear that Israel is being put ahead of America. Well, as you said, when Miriam Adelson buys the United States Air Force, the United States Navy, and allows it to be put in harm's way by attacking Iran, who pose no threat whatsoever to the American people or the American nation, this proves that Donald Trump is an Israeli first president. Make Israel great again is his calling card. And when we lose this war, and George, I'm here to tell you, we have lost this war. This is going to be one of the most humiliating moments in American history, when we have to admit we have run out of ammunition. We cannot sustain this fight while Iran continues to pummel Israel, American bases, and American regional allies. Donald Trump will now be compelled to once again lie to the American people about how he achieved something, but now he's going to withdraw. And he is going to be crushed at the polls at midterms. And when he gets crushed, it's not just that he will lose the House, because he will lose the House. And by losing the House, it means he will be impeached. He will be impeached nonstop. There might be multiple impeachment trials going on. This is how much the Democrats despise this man. but he may lose the Senate, and he may lose the Senate in sufficient numbers that could lead to conviction. This is the end of Donald Trump's political legacy, and he saw it. You saw him, you saw his posture when he gave his speech announcing the beginning of this operation. You know Donald Trump during the election. I mean, he was running around like the Energizer Bunny. I mean, that man could put in a 14-hour day, travel to 5 different places, finish up with a rally at night, and he was as strong as the day is long. I mean, he's out there doing his stupid YMCA dance. His voice is strong, powerful. Here he goes before the American people announcing this war, which should be the most testosterone-laden event in his life, and he sounded like a defeated man. He sounded like a guy who had just spent $50 on a hooker and couldn't get it up. I apologize for that, but I just don't like Donald Trump, so I'm going to say that. He was a defeated man. He was, you know, he knows he lost. He knows it's over. He knows it's finished because we're not going to win. And it's gradually becoming apparent that Israel lied to him. Israel deceived him. Benjamin Netanyahu used and abused him, and that Marianne Adelson bought him. Donald Trump is the equivalent of a $50 whore who sold America out to a pimp named Marianne Adelson.
Okay, Shalom. Giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Wakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone, and salutation to you Akim out there that puts his word in truth and in sincerity. Here is a British political analyst by the name of George Galloway, and then you got a UN weapons inspector by the name of Scott Ritter, bringing out absolute truth. Israel lied to Donnie. Now Israel and America, USA getting cooked. Because what's happening in the Middle East, Saturday, the beginning of the war, brothers doing videos on it. I did a video on it. But now, when you go into in-depth details, Jeffrey Sachs got a video out there. He's a professor at Columbia University, and he's going into how this was planned not only in December of 2025, but 14 years ago. PNAC, Project of a New American Century. And I knew about that. And it took a little time for them to take down Syria. Once they took down Syria, took out Bashar al-Assad, the next step was to take out Iran. So them gut rats could be the sole controllers, bringing all kind of hegemony over there and reigning superior. But Iran been around for over 2,400 years. And the proper name for Iran is called Persia. So them Persians, they got that ancient warrior spirit. So that's why they doing what they doing right now. They thought it was going to be a cakewalk. What broke America and Israel's spirit is when they killed the Ayatollah. They thought everybody was going to, you know, do an uprising and come up against the Iranian government, the Revolutionary Guard. Nah, it was the total opposite. They killed not a war leader. You killed a so-called religious leader. And now his son involved. Now his son took over. In which, I'm going to say this, the elder brother Shaman, he mentioned it at camp. I think his son going to take over. And I said, I believe you. Now guess what? His son took over. Show you that we are the prophets of the Lord, man. The Most High is dealing. The Most High is dealing, man. Let me say this. I got some scriptures slacking for the rent, but I got to get this out. I've been researching this and watching different videos from different pundits, and they bring it out. Now, all of a sudden, Turkey. Iran is being blamed for shooting a missile on Turkey, which is a part of NATO. You see what's going on? 2 Corinthians 2:11. We are not ignorant against Satan's devices. So now all of a sudden, Iran is going to hit a NATO country, and they being advised by China and Russia on the backside, and they being supplied with military intelligence and weapons, but they're not getting they're not in the forefront, not yet. Not yet. But this shit is escalating, because now they saying that Iran hit NATO. Article 5. You hit one, you attack us all. You attack one, you attack us all. So now it's going to be a full-scale war. Hey, man, like the Apostle Tahar said, we are in World War III. The beginning stages of it. Nonetheless, World War III is at hand. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. The economy is teetering. Gas prices is going up. That's going to lead the way to a new system. These devils got their shit planned out. But us in the know, Amos chapter 3 verse 7, the Most High revealeth his secrets unto his servants the prophets. Amos chapter 3 verse 7, the Most High revealeth his secrets unto the servants the prophets. So we see what's going on. We got that eyesight. We can see how these devils are moving. Bring perpetual war, collapse the economy, and bring in a new system. Once again, 2 Corinthians 2 and 11. But now we out there warning the people. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to bring out this scripture because it all leads up to what's about to take place. This is Joel chapter 2, verse 1. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion. What's that trumpet? These holy scriptures. Who's Zion? You Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, man. To Zion, which means monument. It says, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. And the Lord is resounding that alarm. These are not our words. These are the words of Yahweh, while Yahweh Shah. And we out there prophesying and telling you what's going to take place, man. Now all these prophecies are starting to speak. We're at the end. I'm excited. I'm loving it. But I know.
Yeah, me as well.
Have to come to
pass. Why I forward these videos.
Declare itself. But anything can happen. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. The stock market collapsed. Gold and silver is going up. So we want to see. Back in Joel chapter 2, verse 1. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble. And this is referred to the Israelites. Whether you know you're an Israelite, whether you acknowledge you're an Israelite, but you want to buck up against what the teachers of the Israelites, what the men of the Most High is talking about because you want Esau and the rest of the nation to be saved, that's on you. But you being taught. And you want to tremble when all hell breaks loose. It says, let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord cometh, for it is near at hand. I'm going to hold this right here real quick. Matter of fact, I'm going to hold this real quick. I'm going to bounce back and forth. This is Zephaniah chapter 1, verse 14. It says, before I go down, I'm going to go back to Joel chapter 2. It says, for it is at hand. Talk about the day of the Lord. This is Zephaniah chapter 2, chapter 1, verse 14. The great day of the Lord is near. What is the great day of the Lord? Dominant destruction, contrary to fire when Yahweh shall crack from skies, bringing death, destruction, and deliverance. It says the great day of the Lord is near. It is near and hasteth greatly. You see what's going on in the Middle East? Once the Most High put the spirit on Donald Trump to strike Iran, Russia is dealing with its own problems, but they can solve that easily with Ukraine. China is sending sophisticated radar systems helping Iran locate different military weapons that Israel and America got stored so they can launch missiles on them and destroy them. You see, what the Iranian government is doing, you see, I'm not listening to mainstream media. Iran is losing, I'm not listening to that bullshit. That's all propaganda. I'm listening to alternative media like Conor McGregor, Judge Napolitano, and a bunch of other men that know what they're talking about. Jeffrey Sachs, just to name a few. And they're giving us a straight skinny of what's going down, what's happening. Pepe Escobar, what's happening in the Middle East, man. And that shit with Iran striking Turkey, that was a false flag, man.
Yeah, we know that.
That was a false flag. Trying to get NATO involved with this war. Because we in the beginning stages of World War III, and I'm loving it.
Me
She got me
too.
excited to the point, I ain't gonna say no more.
And so my videos are obviously a lot longer than they were before. Why? Because it's exciting. Shalom, Barak Yahweh, Ba'al Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'al Hashem Rakakadash, Wa Abba Babal. Brakatam Jehovah Olek. Expect long videos from here on out. Shalom.